Welcome, Commander Smiths.
We are the CommanderSmiths.
I'm Adam Smith.
And I'm Lowery Smith.
Don't worry.
We're cousins.
I feel like I'm looking like directly into the camera instead of looking at you on the screen. I should move this up so it looks like I'm looking at the camera. There we go.
Yeah,
that's for the YouTubers.
Probably works.
Yeah,
that's
because I was looking.
Hey, YouTube.
Down.
Hi.
Larry has his sexy robe on. I think that's your like signature thing now, right?
For sure.
You gotta. What are you gonna? I was thinking about that. What are you gonna do in the summer when it's like hot as balls out?
Oh, I'll be naked under the robe. I'm in the basement. It's cooler down here either way. Yeah. Yes, you can.
This is episode 161, and what are we doing today, Lowery?
Am I doing the joke or are you doing the joke?
It doesn't matter. What joke are we talking about? Cindy's joke?
Well, yeah. It should be yours.
Well, okay. Well, we're doing Stump the Smith Savant, obviously.
That's not the joke. Okay.
And then we're doing One Spec, obviously. That'll be a secret what that is. And then we are doing just the tips. Is that what you wanted? Or did you want the Stimmy specs?
Stimmy.
So we're doing just the tips. What is it? We're talking about the stimulus checks, just kind of are starting to come out, roll out this week.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, every time the stimulus checks have come out in the last year, the two times, we've seen a spike with the reserve list stuff and other things. So we're actually going to talk about what people should be looking at to buy or get before it starts spiking, and B, maybe things of what you need to sell, maybe some ideas of things to maybe get on before they kind of hop up here. And then kind of where we think this is going to go, because when's the last time the reserve list has been hit 3 times in 1 year? I mean, we're technically in 2021, and the first time it got hit was April.
2020.
It was like June in 2020, but full calendar year.
Oh, this would be like, at least the third time.
Third or fourth time, because we had December a little bump, and then we had this last January, February, and now we're predicting that we're going to probably get one here. So that's the meat and the beer and pizza of this episode.
No, meat and potatoes.
Gross.
Meat and mashed potatoes. You're fine. You're not going to gag over something that you consider tasteless. I'm sure people get gassy on it. It's fine.
I watched our short of me doing that so many times, not because of the first part was like, I was watching it because I was laughing at me doing the farts, but my favorite is your facial expressions in that video. You're just like, God fucking Adam, stop it. And then you go to talk again and I already hit the button and you're like, all right, well, I guess this is where we're going. Fart noises. So I more got a kick out of your reaction. I don't remember how annoyed your face looked. You're just like, fucking Adam.
I don't remember it. That's sorry if I looked perturbed.
No, it was funny. I was entertained. All right. So anything? Oh, I got to see you this week. Woo!
It was nice.
It was awesome.
We got to hang out for a couple hours.
Yeah, the kids got to play at the playground, and Cindy, I was talking to her after. I was like, "What is that? The first time you've seen Lowery since last?" She's like, "Yep, we haven't
been a while."
She's like, "I've seen him on video and all that, and Zoom calls and all that stuff with our family." But yeah, that's the first time that she's seen you, and the first time we got to I met Elise in the car sleeping.
Yes.
So that was the first time actually seeing your baby girl. So that was pretty cool.
And she started getting a tooth within the last week. She has started like taking legitimate steps. She walked across the short side of the living room today, and you're like, holy shit.
That's awesome.
But not swearing, obviously. And then like you have those proud papa moments of like when your son does something, and my little Lowery's doing a really good job with just like potty training and doing stuff on his own, and not having to be there. And when you hear your son go, Dad, come and look at my beautiful poop. You're like, you laugh because you're like, that's really fucking funny. And you go in there and you're actually proud of that huge shit that he took.
Man
oh, it
poop.
was a man poop. I'm like, all right, I'll dump that in the toilet and flush it. That was, I've been tempted to take pictures of it and post it on the Discord. Just like,
well, dude,
but
you remember the site back in the day, and I bet you it still exists now that I'm saying it. I almost want to look it up, but it's ratemypoo.com, where people you take a picture of your poop.
I had happily forgotten that. But
you remember? I remember because I had one that I was gonna almost put it on the. We're going from your son's poop to like an adult man excited about his poop. I had one that went in like the toilet bowl part and came out of the water and was like that far from the rim of the toilet. And it was just before I was going to volleyball. And Nikki, you remember my old coworker who lived above me? She was coming to pick me up to go to volleyball, and she opened the door, and I'm like, "Oh my God, you have to see this!" And she said that she could smell it, and so that's why she was like, "Is it your poop?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Okay." And she came in and looked at it. It was like a child.
That's really nice of her, because I think
you should.
It was like tickling you. That's
yeah.
How did you pinch it off, or did it break off on its own? Like,
it just ended. It was clean all the way.
Just ended. It was just a little bobber in the lake.
No, it's just. I remember doing it and going, man, that felt like it didn't end for a long time there. And I look underneath, and I'm like, oh my gosh! So you like wipe and then strategically put the toilet paper on the side so that you can actually see the whole poop in its glory. But we're only a few minutes. We're not even 10 minutes into this episode, and we've gone toilet humor.
Poop.
But you.
Hello, poopies.
Back to that. Nice. You should take a picture of that and throw it on ratemypoo.com.
No, that's not a. I'll look. I don't think it's a thing anymore.
Oh, you'd be surprised. That's somebody's thing.
Is it like a .com, or do you think it's a government thing?
Yeah. The funny thing is about the seeing you guys is the whole trip down. Cindy and I drove separate because we were going to. She got a new car, so we're selling the other one. And I guess Cindy was talking about seeing Little Lowery and Uncle Lowery, except they call you Lowery is how they say your name.
Yeah.
And then at the playground, they kept calling Uncle Lowery to Little Lowery. They kept calling him Uncle Lowery.
Yeah. Uncle Baby Lowery.
Yeah, or Uncle Little Lowery. I remember exactly what it was, but it was like, no, that's just Little Lowery. This is Uncle Lowery. I'll
have to tell you what Rate My Poo is. It's a thing still, kind of.
It is?
Yeah.
You looked it up?
Yeah.
You can tell me now.
I do. You'll have to bleep it.
Well, wait, I got the fart noise.
Get it ready. All right. Okay, so the first one, it says the caption underneath it says biggest piece of shit. And it's a picture of Trump. And it changed over to rotten.com or something, but
so the site exists. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
good.
gonna cry.
I'm glad that you were looking that up as you're like, I gotta see if this is real.
Yeah, I had forgotten all about that.
What are you drinking tonight, Lowery? I got myself a little bit of a White Russian going on here.
I am drinking from LTD Brewing Company out of Hopkins, Minnesota. It's called Trippin Thru Time. Thru is spelt wrong because they're trying to be cool or something. And it's a big rainbow spiral into a black hole. It's a triple dry hopped net IPA. And again, I don't know what net means. It's just an IPA.
How's it taste?
It's good. I enjoy it. It's nothing. I mean, it tastes like an IPA, so I don't know why I'm out of the game. I got that gout toe, and I can't. I don't know anything anymore.
That's why I basically drink booze instead of beer because as I said before, I'm on the meds. I got the meds for the gout.
Yeah, I'm thinking about going in too.
Yeah, so that's
For
what I
like the
went with
last
a
6
White
months.
Russian because it actually we're also on. got the meds and we're doing low carb crap during the week and all that. But yeah, surprisingly, there isn't a lot of carbs in a White Russian. So
That's good.
yeah, it's good stuff. I don't really have anything from this week.
I mean, you got to tell your poop story. So,
well, I'm proud of. I really. You should have taken a picture and at least sent little Lowe's.
oh, he does it at least every other day.
Oh, nice.
It's
It is crazy though when
when they switch over to man poops.
oh man, it's insane. And when that just
he-
reeks like a man, like just like
Yeah.
that was Drake tonight. It was like, I'm glad that door was closed because I opened it up because he was like, I need help. Like
Yeah.
your little brother knows how to wipe himself, so you're fine. I opened up the door. I was like, whoa. Yeah,
you need help.
Oh yeah, when it comes out of the little guys, that's insane.
Yeah.
I remember what was
I
that?
agree. I haven't pooped that big in years. I don't know what's wrong with my stomach, but
I think it was a few months back when we were playing with Guy. Were you in on that one where he had to leave the game because his little had such a big poop? He was crying and had to leave. And he's like, it was the biggest poop I've ever seen.
I half remember it.
Yeah, it was. I think
But
before we
it's-
were playing League, it was when we were doing regular decks. So
Okay, that was a while back then.
cool story, bro. I'm looking for
That's
my
a
buttons.
button. Yeah.
I know.
Right.
See, I have a bunch of the okay. Try when I was waiting for you to get ready and everything. I started trying to rename so I could find buttons faster. So this was the cool
story, bro.
Yeah.
cool story, bro. All right. Should we just get into this episode? So let's do our tags and all that fun
Tags?
stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll be the second part. So first part, Patreon. No patrons this week. But you can become a patron. $1 or more gets you in the Discord. Also
There we
gets
go.
you into League, which just ended. So League will be
Yes.
starting back up with Strixhaven. So right now, we're
Hopefully,
playing,
Strixhaven's more fun.
Yeah,
Keldheim was a slog.
yeah.
You,
The games were interesting. I liked the cards in this set. It just we were spoiled with Commander Legends was kind of the
For sure.
issue. It was
Yep.
very rampy with that. But we'll have regular decks. People will probably be doing that Saturdays, just taking the spot of League at this point. But that's just $1 gets you in. If you do $5 or more, that gets you the proxy of the week each month. We do have some special things that are coming to Patreon members, but that's to come. You could kind of see some workings of stuff that we posted on Twitter, and well, the Discord members kind of saw some stuff this week. Is there anything else with Patreon? I'm trying to think. Oh, also gets you unsnipped. Unsnipped is the other thing, and we only have for Patreon, so that gets released once a week. It's all the stuff we do beforehand that is uncut on YouTube, and we just send that out. But YouTube,
it essentially is whatever we forget to say in the actual episode, where we're like, we should say this and this and this,
and then we don't
forget to say it. Yeah.
We should almost have a like unsnipped post party. I don't know.
Post-snip?
Post op.
So it's
after our
unsnipped,
show, and like,
yeah, and
fuck,
then
we forgot
after-
to say this and forgot to do this.
Yeah, post op.
Yeah. Unsnip post op. That's a lot of videos to do. All right. And those are video too. So the unsnip people can check those out, or the patrons can check those out. The free way to support the show.
Only the unsnipped patrons get to check it out.
Yeah. If you have your skin snipped, you cannot watch these.
You can't. You can't.
It's not allowed. It won't allow you. You're going to click on it. It's going to be like, oh, sorry, your shit got cut. All right. So the free way to support the show, and this is, we're doing the push to 1K. So we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers to YouTube. It's been really pumping up the last month. Lowery's been kicking out the MTG curated MTGs, which have been getting tons and tons of views. Awesome stuff there. Proxy Time is also on there doing shorts of those as well, where it shows basically the final version of those cards. have a ton of other regular videos, shorts to come. So the shorts are just basically a minute long, kicking out the videos of what we're talking about there. So those are coming. So just that is the best way. If you don't have the money to support us, that's totally fine. Just jump on YouTube, subscribe, and that's all you got to do. Then you can go to Twitter. That's where you can also see Proxy of the Week. Curated MTG is where that also gets posted, and actually a little more of a description on and discussion on Twitter. There's a lot more people jumping on and talking back and forth with you on there. And then not sharing with Adam happens a little bit on there. And then sometimes mail day stuff like Card Sphere stuff that you get there. And what are you reaching for there, Lowery? Oh, getting that out of the shot.
Started looking at myself and I was like, oh, that's not supposed to be there. Do I leave it?
If you watch the unsnipped video halfway while you're talking, I was listening to you, but I was like all adjusting the camera because I'm like, I'm not in the center. I'm off to the side. Anyway, so you can also direct message us there, or you can direct message us by shooting us an email. Easy, CommanderSmiths@gmail.com. All right. That is pretty much it. I don't think I missed anything there. Nope. All right. Should we get to it? Get to the starting segment we like to do. Well, now I got to find it. Now I got the boobies. There it is. It's time for everyone's favorite game show, Stump the Smith Savant. All right. So, guys don't know how this game works. I'm going to read the flavor card. I'm going to read the flavor text of a card. And Larry's going to
I'm going to lick the card for the flavor and then tell you the text of it.
These schnozberries taste like schnozberries. God,
one of the best lines in the cinema.
Yeah. So Larry's going to try to guess the card just by the flavor text. He's going to ask yes or no questions. Any no, you get this.
Wrong, 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 wrong.
And any yes,
hello boobies,
is now a hello boobies, which is
that seems more appropriate. I like that.
So wrong.
Where's that from?
It's from Scrubs. So I cut it up.
Oh,
it's like a 15-20 second one where he goes wrong, 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 wrong. You know, like our grandma and grandpa's clock. You know?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yep. That's
huh.
So that's just the
wrong, 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 wrong.
The end of it. So if you get a no, that is what you will hear. If you get a yes, of course, it's our favorite.
Hello, boobies.
And I will give clues. Clues are minus 10 points. No, minus 5 points. Wrong guesses are minus 10 points. Points don't matter. It's just like whose line is it anyway, because I stopped keeping track of even what. I'll probably even end up doing cards over because I'll forget because I just. Yeah, fun stuff.
We can have number 2 go through and figure like spreadsheet all the ones that we've done so far. Yeah, he did it out of respect, and then we stopped doing it. Like 3 weeks later, that looks like a lot of work we did. Jeez. And I think the show has exponentially gotten better
since we stopped singing.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. I hated doing the songs. All right. So instead of me trying to figure out a song each week, it's always trying to figure out the Stump the Smith Savant, which is pretty easy to figure out. I just got to find the ones that I think that you could get, but whatever. All right. First card. Here we go. I think you'll get these. Thanks. This world was once so much more than confines of. Let me reread that. Reread that. This world was once so much more than the confines of Naktamun. 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 There we go. Does that help you?
Okay, so this is. I'm gonna say this is either is this Amonkhet or Hour of Devastation?
Yes. Oh,
okay.
Hello, boobies.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, so good cards from that set. Not a lot. Can you this?
World...
Oh no! This is Ramonop Excavator.
Hello, boobies.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
There we go. Took me a little bit of a second, but I
Oh,
got
you didn't
there.
even get a wrong.
I don't want to hear that.
You want to hear one of the clues?
Sure, yeah.
Someone is not going to work here. Is the creature type?
Yeah, that would have given her away. Not gonna
work here anymore. All right, here goes the second one. That was pretty quick, Larry. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Yeah.
How'd you figure that one out?
The butchered word that you said sounded
I kinda
pretty
figured that was gonna-
Amonkhet-ish.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Amidst the darkest ashes grow the strongest seeds.
Among the darkest ashes.
Amidst the darkest ashes grow the strongest seeds.
Well, that one's tougher.
Have a sip
Seeds.
of my beverage.
Ashes. Ashes are like red black. Seeds are green. Kind of dealing with land there because of like burning and seeds and trees and plants or whatever. Shoot. I don't think it's a green card. I want to say it's black or red.
Gonna ask the question.
Did it? No, not yet. Reread yet or reread,
Amidst
please.
the darkest ashes grow the strongest seeds.
I'll take a clue.
Let's do this card. The art features outer space as the main feature of this card. Amidst the darkest
It's outer space, or is it like a skyline?
outer space. Amidst the darkest ashes grow the strongest seeds.
Is there like the depiction of a world in it?
Hello, boobies.
Crucible of Worlds?
Hello, boobies.
Yeah. There we go.
That's it. I only did 2 this week because I was
Okay.
just like, all right, I'm
All
gonna
right.
see all 2 rolls. So obviously,
yeah,
we'll
that
both
makes
do the
sense.
same
Yeah.
thing. And actually, this is a foreshadowing to my picks next week because we're doing Hour of Devastation.
Oh,
So these are
okay.
I had these
Yeah.
coinciding with my picks for this week, but then we pushed our whole specs to the next week. So
That probably also like helped me. Like, I'm pretty sure I remember us talking about ramming up Excavator.
oh, I sent it to you saying this is my pick for
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah.
So and then they were kind of in theme. There's some interesting things. I'm going to say it right now because I'll say it next week too. Ramanop Excavator is surprisingly in more decks than Crucible of Worlds.
Because it's cheaper.
That's a good point. Okay, because that was my biggest thing. Like, why is this in 2,000 more decks? They're both in a shit
Yeah.
ton of decks, but
Yeah.
it's in 2,000 more decks than Crucible, and Crucible's an artifact. So I was like, but they're gonna be in the same decks, you know,
Yeah. Yep.
same type of decks. All right, so we are jumping into. Oh, I do have the button for. Here it is.
Perhaps play a little game called Just a Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
So we're doing just the tips. Ouch, ouch, you're on my hair. Or the other part was, remember the button that I was probably going to kill? Shit. And I got to get to it. Where is it? Oh, here.
Bye. He just had to turn that down.
the week, guys.
That was loud.
Loud in your ear?
No, but I could see you like turning down the volume.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was. All right. So where are we on with this one? What is our just the tips for this week?
Okay, so we are going to have a discussion about the stimulus checks that are coming out for the US of A.
Which Sydney's coworkers have already started getting them. Some people have, which is crazy. He's getting them on Friday already.
That's quick. Yeah. Okay. Friday makes sense. Or it came out last Friday, or coming out this next Friday.
Last Friday.
Okay. So how you notice when the stimulus checks are coming out, there is what they are designed to do. They're to stimulate the economy, right?
Mhm.
That's why they're called a stimulus check.
Stimmy specs.
Stimmy specs. That's what we're doing right now. Stimmy specs. So what's going on? You see reserve list cards going up. We're seeing, dual lands are getting to high prices.
Why?
We're seeing reserved list cards that are real bad, unplayable in every way, shape, or form, get up to $5 plus.
Mm-hmm. We're seeing cards that aren't even on the reserve list going up that have tons and tons and tons of printings. Shivan Dragon.
Yep. And not all of them, but
No.
certain printings. And so you're I just fucking hit my table. Wreck this shit.
What the fuck is happening?
Yeah. And so you're seeing older cards that have plenty of printings appreciate in value. And like older foils are going up dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Certain sets are going up dramatically in foil. Have we said older sets that are non-reserve list are going up? So like Legends cards are going crazy, even if they're printed in the Chronicles set. You have
the original ones are going. Yeah.
The Dark has cards going up, revised. Like I think I was hearing that Birds of Paradise spiked up to $100 that were
really for revised.
For revised, it dropped back down to like 20 something, but still that was like, whoa, what's going on there?
Yeah.
And so you're seeing these older sets like and you know that baseball cards, like sports cards, are going up. Other trading card games like Pokemon,
pretty much anything that's
up.
collector wise. Pokemon has been going just absolutely fucking bonkers.
Yeah, and I know nothing about it, so I'm not gonna say like get into Pokemon,
right?
Because I don't know shit about it. I didn't even know that they had something called Energy that looked like the basic lands from Theros. Like I know nothing, so I'm not gonna speculate on that or anything. So I mean that's what we're working with, right?
It's so much so that like Target has the signs up that says you can't take 3 or more of something in the card section. And speaking of those card sections, Pokemon is gone. Like there isn't Pokemon cards there. Like you can't even buy a pack if you wanted. Magic is, when they had Commander Legends in there, they're gone within a day or two. Like it's just people are scooping it up, and it's insane what's going on with Magic and everything at this moment. And you can kind of, if you go on MTG stocks or Goldfish, you can see that every time we had a stimulus over the last 12 months or so, pretty much like a month or two after that, you see this huge, not huge, certain cards from the reserve list would start to spike. The biggest difference was this last one, everything spiked. Like everything went, like the garbage cards that were 25 cents like a month and a half ago, the lowest you can get those are $2-3. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but 25 cents. If you listen to my the early cast days when I was going for cards like that, I was like, hell yeah, that made a huge profit. I mean, that's a huge profit, but you still gotta mail it and all
You
that.
gotta move them somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Garbage cards. I mean,
Like
the what is it? Heart of Yavimaya? Like,
yeah.
I was selling those for 20. I got those for 60 cents. Like, those are not good lines.
They're not very good.
I have one of my
The blue
dollar
ones
to
and the white
duels
one and
are-
black one are good, but red and green not very good.
yeah. So my one of my dollar to duel lines I specifically did this was I sold 3 Yavamayas or Heart of Yavamayas for 15-20 bucks a piece. And then
Mhm.
I bought more Yavamayas off of TCG because eBay is a different beast. Like, people are,
Yeah.
they don't necessarily know about TCG or how that, I don't know what the difference is there, but there's a different buyer on eBay. So then I turned around and I bought off of, I bought light play to moderate play ones off of TCG. Got those, sold those, made a profit for, I take it back. Those weren't going for 20. Those are going for 14, which still 14 for a 60-cent card. That is pretty garbage. But so I now have 13 of them and about $90 worth of other cards in that line of dollar to duels. I guess I do need an good for you.
Oh, good for you. So I guess here's a weird question maybe, but do you think everybody that's buying these cards are Magic card players, or do you think they're like investors?
That's a good question.
Because like you can see a lot of investment opportunities and a lot of those are going up. I even saw somebody talking about a digital earth and people wanting to sell land on it, but there's no like game to it.
What?
Yeah. And money is going into it, and you're going, is that like a digital currency? Is like, I don't understand any of that stuff, but
So-
like, is it just investment properties of just like why Bitcoin is going crazy because money's just going into it instead of any real tangible assets? Like, houses are really expensive, so you can't, like, it's harder to put like 100,000 towards a house. It's a lot easier to go like a lot of people throwing $100 at a bunch of stuff.
So, to your question, I think it's a mix of both, and I'm not taking just like the middle ground, like it's both of them. I think the investor part, they're going to hit the high end stuff. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to. They're going to go for the easy stuff that they can probably turn around and sell pretty easily back. And then the people that probably play Magic and know a little bit more might be going for the lower middle range stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's easier for somebody that doesn't know Magic to be like, okay, what's the most expensive card in this reserve list thing that they're talking about? Okay, so you got the dual lands.
That's a good point.
Boom, I'm going off the dual lands. Now the dual lands are going crazy because you have all these investors. They're not going to go for the under $1 cards and buy 30,000, because there really isn't that many. It's reserve list, so there isn't that many out there.
And really being an outside, if you don't know Magic and you're going in to invest per se, you're not going to even know about those cheaper cards. Like, but at the same time, you don't know what's good and what's not, other than based off of price,
Right?
Because you don't know the rules of the game, you don't know what's popular, you don't know even what game, they don't even know what Commander is or Legacy or Vintage. You know what I mean? Unless they do some research on it, and maybe they do.
Or maybe they even talk to somebody that they know that's like, hey, is there something I can invest in? You play Magic. What do you do? Like, they're buddies or something like that. And I don't know. It's just,
and so I'm just, it's really hard for me, even though it's the most logical, like you can see the history graph of it, like stimulus check goes out, Magic cards go up and just other pieces go up, right?
Mhm.
But it's still hard for me to believe that people are putting that money into Magic, knowing, like, applying it to the economy. And like, we know that I think there's a stat saying like 40% of Americans can't afford a $600 surprise bill. You're like, holy shit.
Mhm.
So like, it to me, it shouldn't be those people. You know what I mean? Um, and so like, are the other 60% that can afford that kind of thing, are they doing it? What kind of debt there are? We know that there's debt issues in America. And so are we just thinking like 1400 or 600 or 2000 doesn't do anything, and so it's going into other things like Magic, trying to invest and appreciate that money? Like, that's where it's like, it's for a lot of people that's not extra money.
Yeah. But yeah. But think of it this way, like, I don't want to ask like, what are you doing with the checks? But like, the
Mhm.
last ones just went into our savings account, and
Yeah.
these ones are just
Same.
going to go into my savings account. But if you really thought about it, you really would, if you want to, that if you don't need it and it's just sitting in a savings account that's not really giving you any money back, if you know what you're actually doing and there's a profit to be made, why not try to make that 1400 turn into 2800, or turn that into 5000, or turn, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I
if
mean,
I would have
if
done
I was
that,
going to do something with it, I'd pay off my student loans or put it towards that.
but
You know
what if
what
you
I
don't
mean?
have any of that stuff? You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I mean, what's the percentage of people that don't have rent or a housing loan or student loans or credit card debt? Like, that's a small percentage of people
Yeah.
that don't have any of those things. And again, this is just like, clearly it's having an effect on investment, collectibles and other things. So the way I'm thinking, I know that it's not right, but it's hard for me to believe that that's what it's affecting. But it's clearly working, and as a stimulating the economy.
Yeah.
Um,
But do you see what I'm saying though? Like,
why
we
you're
are
saying why
almost
not turn it into a profit?
right, because I'm not going to
So
do this because I have my Magic money. You know, I
Yeah,
have my,
yeah.
I have my what I buy and I spend, and for my specs and what I sell and all that, and it's like, that's separate. But really, if I was smart about it, we don't need that extra money necessarily. We are going to be,
Yeah.
we have some stuff that we need to finish in the house, and that's honestly what it's probably going to. It's going into the savings, and then this summer when we have
Mhm.
to finish off, because we haven't touched the outside. We have fucking stocks that are 6 feet high, so we have to put grass down at some point.
Yeah.
Whatever. But if I wanted to make money with it, probably the
In the
smartest thing
meantime.
I should have done is buy a bunch of those reserve lists at that time. You know, there was a lot of, I already did, but I did it with my own stuff. But if I would have put it towards that, you know, where would that money be at this point? And what it's about to do now, you know, it's going to happen again. I'm
And so, I mean, that's the other part. It's like, it's really hard for me to believe, again, that cards that were under $1, that were garbage reserve lists, that somebody that is looking to turn a profit is investing in these cards.
Yeah, who's buying the garbage ones?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right?
That I don't know.
And other than like supply and demand, but what's the thought process behind let's buy these bad cards?
Yeah.
Other than it's low supply.
Mm-hmm.
So is it that simple?
That's the hardest. That's probably the toughest thing with this is like, it's reserve list. So these aren't coming back. It's whatever's out there is out there. It's not being reprinted. You're never seeing these cards again.
Unless it's unless it's an investor that's going, I'm going to buy these 100 copies just because I can. It's going to buy it out. Then I control essentially the price. And then you kind of gotta guess so that it doesn't flood the market. You know, if somebody's going like this shitty card, I'm gonna buy up 1,000 copies, throw it out there for $100, and then everybody goes, "That's $100," and then they go and find their copies in the boxes, and then it, race to the bottom type thing happens. Clearly, I just watched your CMD tower.
I was actually thinking, I was like, you did what I said at CMD tower, the race to the bottom.
Yep. Segment over there.
It's funny that you said it because it immediately triggered us like, we're rubbing off on each other, and then you gotcha.
and so like that's the part that just makes me go like,
hashtag if you guys want to hear me on CMD tower, check that out.
You're on there a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Did we ever promote it?
Yeah, we did. I waited for Bill
come
from Woodbury did that one, and then I was like, oh yeah, good up Bill from Woodbury. And then that's when I promoted, because it was funny because it came out the same day as our episode was going too. So
okay, I was competing.
Yeah,
you're on 2.
Fuckers. No, I'm just
and
kidding.
so that's the other hard part for me. Like, and so like at these really bad cards that are even with reserve list, I don't want to be into them. You know what I mean? I don't want to spend $5 on them because of the things that we talk about when we are talking about speccing. If you're wrong, you get to at least play with them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're just bad, like they're just bad cards.
But the difference is with these bad cards is they're never getting printed.
Sure. But I would not suggest going and buying cards that you wouldn't play with.
This is just more of us having the discussion, and we're gonna fine tune this here in a minute or two.
What? No, there's plenty of stuff here.
Well, I'm just saying, don't go for the bad cards. Like I specifically stayed away when speccing on these, and I did spec on these. I've made some good money off of all this stuff. But I'm only going after cards that I think that can be used in Commander or are used in a way, like I think what's happening now
potential
is we're seeing a new bottom for, let's just specifically stay on reserve list for now.
Sure.
And we'll hit the other stuff in a little bit.
Okay.
I think there's a new bottom for reserve list because it hasn't been hit this many times in 1 year. And it hasn't been hit this hard in 1 year or one time. Actually, this last time was the biggest that it's ever been hit.
And it's been sustained over 2-ish months.
Yeah. You have some cards that have come back down, but for the most part, things are staying at this plateau there. I think here's what my prediction of what might happen, and the reason why I think that we have a new bottom instead of cards being under $1 or 30 cents or 25 cents that are reserve list cards. And I think we're now probably going to be reaching that $3-5 as a bottom, and maybe even get up to 10 or something at some point. Is people are now buying them of cards that they're like, shit, I don't have that card for my collection. I want that card because they aren't printing this again. So I'm buying that. I bought the ones that I didn't have that I liked, that I thought were good Commander cards. I bought those, and those are getting in my collection, and they'll never come out of the binder, never come out of the toolbox. So those are lost to the world until I die. Then you also have the people that didn't know about that these cards existed now see these cards. Like, that's the one thing I really love about your curated MTG is so far 99% of the cards you have done on curated MTG, check it out on YouTube or on Twitter, I have never seen before. And it's bringing in, and that's what the reserve list is like, I've bought multiple of the cards that you're like, hey, this is a cool card, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, fuck, I don't have that card. Sweet. Okay, what's the foil? Oh, boom. And actually, I don't know if it's your curated MTG or whatever, if you're having that power, but a few of those have already, the foils have spiked off of because you kind of coincided with the one was for the dwarves, and that went up. The Kieran,
Kieran negotiations. Yeah.
So the foils of those went up. The giving protection to all the creatures, There just wasn't a big inventory.
Oh,
When you
Samite Elder.
When
Yeah.
you pointed that out, the inventory was gone. I mean, even
Yeah.
at the end of the
I bought like
cast
3, you bought a
that
couple,
night, yeah.
and then it was like
it was no more. And
we
then
might
that
have bought
one
it out.
spiked. Yeah.
We have that power.
yeah. Just by us buying.
Yep.
Which I only bought 3 copies of it at Foil. And
I think I did too. Yeah.
But
So
I think my point is that like your curated MTG, this is now drawing attention to people. Like, how long have we been saying Lifeline is a fucking amazing card and no one knows about it? And it was at $5 for so long. And even at $20, I'm like, that's still way too cheap for a reserve list card that does what it does. Now it's at 50. I sold 2 yesterday for $50, each.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now the attention is out there to the players, the commander players that didn't know about the reserve list, because they know about it now because there's cards going crazy and they're like, what's going on with this? Oh, I didn't know that card existed, and that's reserve list. I got to get it for my collection.
And a little bit in the unsnipped when we were talking about like the amount of cards from the reserve list that are on TCG and just what's in stock. That does kind of tell me that it's not necessarily like all in buyout on a card like targeted.
Mm-hmm.
It does, now that we're talking about it, seems a bit more like people are picking up reserve list and picking up a couple at a time, and there's enough of us that are buying it out and resetting it. And then there, so that trend makes it seem more like the stimulus is being applied to cards. So like, if you're going to do the stimulus check towards reserve list Magic card, or if you're trying to invest in the Magic, I pick better cards. Just, what I mean? Like
here, let me hit some of these tips that I was going to say is,
yeah,
I don't think don't chase the duels at this point. Wait, you have to wait for the duels.
Yeah.
I know it sucks to say if you don't have the duels, and we say get the duels when you can. Don't use the stimulus check to get you the duels unless you're really just whatever. You have extra money.
Yeah.
It's not for specking wise. Whatever. Go for it. Go nuts. My suggestion to people, if you're looking to make money, get it for the collection, go for ones that haven't had that spike yet. Have the ones that since like December, January have maybe gone up and come back down, or maybe has not really gone up that much, maybe gone up like 10%, 20%. Don't get the ones that have already done the freaking spike, because there's so many that there's a lot out there that are decent cards.
I think if you feel confident in what you're doing, and one thing that I talked with you, I want to bring this up almost every time that we talk about specking, is have somebody that you trust and you think is all at least on your level.
That was a good point you mentioned with texting, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Like, have somebody that you can talk to about this stuff as well. And because I might think I'm really smart,
or jump on the Discord, become a patron and jump on the Discord.
Yeah, and then you can throw ideas out there, and there's a whole community that talks about it.
Yeah, it's everybody.
Yeah. And so having people to bounce ideas off of that aren't just going to like blow smoke up your ass, just going, oh, you're smart, or that's a terrible pick. Like discussing why it can be good, why it can be bad. That's important to have. And for me, at least, this is not even a backhanded compliment. This is a compliment to Adam, saying like some of the best decisions I've made off of specking is talking with Adam on selling or trading or whatever, or buying. Yeah, shut up. And so like just having somebody good to talk to that you can trust and that you're in it for a while and you improve together.
Right.
I think that's really, really important.
And that's the thing is a lot of times we'll do that and it's like, hey, what do you think about this, this, and that? Maybe not that one so much, but I really like how this one works out. For example, when I threw it on the Discord and I was like, hey, Pearl Medallion and Emerald Medallion, those cards are the two that haven't gone up with medallions. They're about the freaking spike, blah blah blah. And you made a point. You're like, Emerald, I'm not so keen on, which I kind of mentioned it too. I was like, Emerald
Yeah, you
is
did.
whatever because it's green has its ramp, but then you also reiterated that you're like, green has its thing. It doesn't need to have that one. Plus, it had an extra printing where Pearl doesn't. But my caveat with that is, I think it's going to get reprinted. And I think you made an excellent point because I think you're right that it might be in Modern Horizons 2. Why not put it there? Because it has not been. If Modern Horizons does similar to Modern Horizons 1, that's how you get it into Modern, because it isn't in Modern. Tempest, that's way before Modern stuff. So that is an excellent spot for those to be printed in. It's been 2014 since they're printed. Anyways, long story longer, that little interaction made it so I bought a couple of the Emerald ones, but I went more deep on the Pearl because you and I are discussing on Discord about that. And what happened? Pearl went up to
doubled.
Yeah. So it's like
doubled within the week.
Yeah.
And so, so having somebody that you're discussing with or on a Discord or a chat is pretty good. And being able to just pick from it, throw out your own ideas, that's all really important. What were we talking about when I went off on this tangent?
Well, we were just talking about the like what specs to go after.
Okay. So right now, this isn't something that we necessarily talked about. We were talking about don't buy into stuff that's spiked already.
Right.
And I don't know. So clearly it depends on whatever your money money situation is as well. It's really hard for me to want to spend over $100 on a card.
Right.
And so once a card hits $100, I'm just kind of like, nah, I'm good. Unless it's like necessary for a deck. And even then I'm probably trying to trade for it or do credit for it, but I do think a sweet spot right now for reserve list cards, even if they have shown a spike, is somewhere in between like 80 and 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we will talk about that later, but even if it's a good card, that's where I would go. Because some of them in between that range are just old and not necessarily playable. For me, I stay away from that because it's has maxed out for now. But something that's playable like Lifeline, again, it's a really, really good card. We love it here. And $40, I don't know what that ceiling is. It might be like 100 on that specific card. I don't know where it would go, but
the 20s to 40s. Yeah, I think might not be a ceiling on some of those that get up to 40. I mean, there's a ceiling obviously, but you're definitely doubling up, and it's a bigger double up than those lower end ones.
And so some of the stuff is just going to be really old and really hard to get, and that's why it's expensive. And something from Legends or Arabian Nights, Alpha Beta, those cards are just going to be incredibly expensive because of rarity, and some of them are really, really good. So that, like, I don't know where to go with that. I don't even look at it because it's so expensive at certain points. But when you start getting into new old, like Urza's Saga, I almost don't even want to talk about Homelands or Fallen Empires because they're bad sets.
One of them's your pick.
Yeah, that's true. And so I think there's tiers of old, right? Do we want to start heading into non-reserve list and getting into that discussion?
Let me. When do you want me to talk about the tiers that I had? Well, you're talking about tiers, so I might as well just kind of do the rule of thumb with the reserve. Let me do the reserve list, how I
Okay.
broke these down really quick. So since you're talking about tiers, this is pre-January prices. So I had to kind of put that because now we're over $3. So the beginning part really doesn't work with this. But like cards that are under $1, this is just a rule of thumb for if you bought into the reserve list. Did you ever listen to any of the casts that we talked about reserve lists and what cards to pick up? We've talked about it multiple times. These are the ones we think you should get, blah, 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 blah. I think this is probably going to be the 5th time we've done reserve list talk, maybe at some point.
Roughly.
Yeah. If you were one of those lucky few that bought in and took our advice at that point, you got a lot that were under $1. Those under $1 cards, I'm typically listing them if they were still under $1 around December. I'm listing those at $10. Your $1 to $5 range, you're looking at 15 to 20 at this point. Your $5 to $10 cards, 20 to 30. And this kind of goes into what you were saying with the high end stuff. So then you get to 10 to 20. Those can range to $30 to $50 plus at this point. The ones that were at that price in December, January even. And then your 20 to 40 can get up to 50 to 100 plus. A lot of those right now. So it's kind of insane. Like the range that you were talking about puts you in that you'd want to be in that $20 to $40 range. There are good cards lower, and we'll get into those once we get out of reserve list, because then that kind of goes into our one spec stuff. So let's get out of reserve list for a little bit and then come back to it for one spec stuff. But it piggybacks what you were saying, is that you're probably wanting to look at the higher end stuff that is not higher end. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Your 20
Middle.
to 80 to $100 range, maybe not 100. I haven't hit on any specs over 80 at this point. Specs, not toolbox. It's a different story. If you're going for toolbox stuff, go for it, because it's reserve list, and just don't go for the duels because they're gonna come back down. I'm brain farting. Oh, so but what you were saying is that 20 to 80 range is probably your sweet spot of cards that are commander usable, that if at very least you're not going to be you can use it in a deck, but B, that it hasn't had that spike. Don't invest on something that's $40 that was once in December was $1. Like that's already had its spike at this point.
Yeah. You gotta, that's where talking with people or becoming a patron on our Discord would really help. We might as well just keep plugging it, right? Shameless. And so I think let's shift over to like old types of cards, because revised. Thank you. Revised, there's a lot of them if you've been around for a bit. Revised is about when a lot of old players got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Alpha Beta Unlimited, there's not a lot. There wasn't a lot of players. You're not going to see a whole ton of it. But Revised, there's a lot. I have like a row and a half of Revised that was us, and I don't think I bought Revised.
That's when we were playing. Yeah, because it was just around. It was
printed in
at that point. When did we get in? It was what, Ice Age, Mirage? What is first, Mirage or Ice Age?
Ice Age was first.
So I remember Ice Age. I remember buying those. So I think
too.
that's about when we got in.
And so it's just kind of like Alpha Beta Unlimited, Arabian Nights, and Legends are all just like, those are old. I think those potentially have, like, I haven't looked into Unlimited a lot, but I think that has some good potential. But I think it has gone up in the last 2-3 months. That's been hit a lot. I have seen cards, heavily used cards like Birds of Paradise, go up. Shivan Dragon, which has a lot of nostalgia to it. So you might be able to be
nostalgic
picky.
cards will do that. Yep. Because even was it Sarah Angels have been going up, which is shitty. They're a shitty card now.
They're not good.
Well, Shivan Dragon's even a shitty card now. You know,
It's not good.
It's 6-drop 5/5 that has fire breathing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had mentioned, I don't know if you said that. Problem with us doing the unsnipped is sometimes I'm like, we talked a lot in unsnipped this time, and I'm like, did we talk about it here? Or was that unsnipped?
Yeah.
You mentioned
So-
the dark is another one that's been
Yeah.
targeted.
Oh, the dark I would put in there too. Like it has a different like printing process, almost like very dark and saturated colors.
The dark
and
is
the-
dark.
Yo, weird. And and then there's like
Fallen
Empires, Homelands, Ice Age, Alliances, Chronicles.
What a
They're
garbage
kind of
set.
like a
Is any
batch
card
of their
good
own.
with Chronicles at this point?
Yes. I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's a batch of relatively similar cards, but a lot of them are not good.
Mm-hmm.
And so that one's kind of hard because it's like a Dark Ages for
Yeah.
Magic. And then you get into like the Tempest and Exodus and Urza Saga. Like Urza's block was amazing, right? And so I don't think we're there yet, but the revised, and then it's just kind of like, do you want to delve into the Fallen Empire's home, that batch that we just kind of specified? Like, is that worth going into? Probably not very deep because they're weird, not very good cards.
There isn't a lot of good stuff in those.
Um,
To be honest with you, the non-reserve list stuff doesn't intrigue me as much. I feel like there's more of a risk at those, and they're
why do you think that?
a little bit more it's more of a risk. It's more risky. It's just going to use the same word, just
It's-
different, and add a Y
It's
to
a
it.
risk
And then
because
it's
it's way more
risk.
risky. I like cookies because they're cookies.
Because they're cookie.
And then so the cookies.
Because they can get reprinted, or
reprint.
they've had reprint. They've already been reprinted. I think the ones that are maybe targets are from those kind of sets that won't ever get reprinted and haven't been reprinted. It's just they're not on a reserve list, but they kind of are. Like they just have banding. It's just
Sure.
an example I'm using, but banding's never coming back.
You don't think that they're going to use banding in Lord of the Rings with the Fellowship cards at all, or?
No, they're going to use
Come on.
party again. They're going to use party again.
Oh, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But banding, they're not going to banding. You're not going to have things that have forest walk. They got rid of all that crap. They aren't using any of that.
They've had land walk at least in the original Ravnica set. It pops up every once in a while,
but not like specific forest walk and stuff is what I've heard, is that specifically they've gotten rid of doing
they're
that.
just not going to do
They're
it.
not making
Okay.
any new stuff that has forest walk and stuff. They may reprint it, maybe it's in like a secret layer, which would be I don't know, dumb. But anyways,
Not.
specific weird cards that can't really be reprinted. It just doesn't make sense. They've gotten rid of it. Anything that has
Unique.
Shroud on it besides Lightning Greaves, they're not printing Shroud. It's only going to be hexproof stuff. They're not.
Yeah.
But
They would reprint Shroud, but yeah,
Yeah.
Shroud and Hexproof weren't even really a thing back then.
So that's why I guess for me, the fallback, the easy thing for me is reserve list is always in my head, just being like, they're not reprinting this. So these are my safety. These are my safety cards.
Makes it easy.
Yeah, it's just you can target the other stuff and guess, but my suggestion is check the inventory, see how many printings there were, see because if it isn't on the reserve list, you could see Shivan Dragon be catching a secret layer reprint. You could get Shivan Dragon, Sarah's Angel. I would buy that, even though they're garbage cards, but it's nostalgic. If you got
If
that, in like
it was like old school
but like full
art.
art. Maybe they expand the borderless art with the Shivan Dragon old school, and same thing with Sarah Angel. Fuck, I would buy the hell out of that card or that set. So
I can see that.
then
yeah,
that just kills, not kills, because people are just
yeah,
still want the
yeah.
original printing of it and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So the weird thing is that Shivan Dragon has so many printings. Same with Sarah Angel, and downshifted to common now. Is it common? Was it uncommon at one
Uncommon
point?
at least.
And then I thought
It's not a rare.
downshifted to common, but so it's I guess what I want to say here is it's a thing to go for things that aren't reserveless and go for the older stuff like Lowery's saying, and go for the dark, go for all that. Just do your research.
I think you have a very valid point of they can always be reprinted. They're not as quote unquote guaranteed and guaranteed and especially if they're not foil. But foils didn't start until Urza's Legacy, Destiny, yeah. And so after that, like everything before that still has a potential to be reprinted if it's not reserveless cards. And a lot of those foils have already gone up, even on bad cards. And so I was starting to look through it. It's pretty time consuming just to see what's in the market on those older sets. And so it's kind of like I went a couple of sets and I was like, okay, I need to just fucking go to bed. And I don't think I bought any.
Yeah.
And I just went to the reserve list and like tried to fill up my cart and just
it just seems, what I put in my notes too is the reserve list won't bottom out. It's more of a waiting game. At some point, don't buy the shitty ones. Buy ones that are usable in Commander. Commander is your thing. Commander. Cards that can be used. Not necessarily powerhouses or unique things where Lifeline is. Lifeline is, I should probably be holding on to the ones that I spec'd on, but I'm trying to move things, whatever. But Lifeline is that the card is so unique. It's never going to see anything like it again. That card's, I probably should hold on to it.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
But
so
go ahead.
So yeah, it's trying to be able to identify really good cards. That's really difficult, especially when you aren't around. You're reading the card, and Lifeline doesn't make any fucking sense when you read it.
Right.
You know?
It is confusing as shit. It's like, wait, so if I have if there's a creature on the board and everything else dies, and then that creature dies, do my creatures come back? Yep, they still come back because the triggers on those guys leaving. There's one on the board, and then you kill it after. It still is it's confusing as hell.
Erratas help, but you got to be like really into it. You know, you got to be like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Let's go look at the rulings. And then you got to be like, okay, this card's really good. Maybe I need to go and buy more of these or buy this. And so like you're talking, I think you're right. Like sticking to reserve list simplifies things because you can just, again, unless you're going for toolboxing's a different story. But if you're looking to make sure that you're investing or whatever, like reserve list into good cards makes the most sense. And especially now, because like literally we're going to talk about reserve list cards and they might already be up by the time this comes out 48 hours later. Like it's very volatile right now.
I would say reserve list stuff, if you're looking for toolbox stuff and not looking to spec and not necessarily like turn things, right now might not be the time to do it. I would maybe hold off. Because here's my prediction. We're gonna we're going to get this stimulus. The reserve list is going to get hit like it's never been hit before because it just happened. If it happens, if it starts happening, which I bet you it's going to start happening within the next couple of weeks here, if not sooner, we're still on the back of that one. Like it hasn't had a back to back. So that
was a lot smaller. That was 600 per.
This
right?
one's 14.
And this one's 14.
This one's one
and
of
so
the biggest?
are we thinking that 601 drove 2 months worth of increase? This 1400, this can last 3, 4, 5 months.
But you're on the back of the other one. So I feel like the
Still?
spike is going to be insane. So if you're looking to maybe make some money off of this one, then definitely look into the reserve list stuff. You can't really take in the advice that we talked about before. When I say you can't go wrong, still don't buy the shitty ones.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
don't
I
buy-
mean,
when we say you can't go wrong, it just means don't go for the ones that just aren't good. Like the mercenaries are just an awful, awful card. Like, why would you get that card?
if you can rationalize it to somebody that pays attention and they're going, yeah, that makes sense, then it probably makes sense. It's a little bit like throwing darts, and if you hit the board, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Because this is one of the easiest ways to not feel like you're losing money, because there's a reserve list to this. It isn't like anything else when we spec on cards and all the other times of the year are one spec and everything. Those are specs that can be reprinted. And that's why you say go for foil or go for this and all that.
We got fucked on Rivals of Ixalan.
You didn't.
No, I didn't, because I'm good at this. But
so they can get reprinted just like that. But the reserve list, you have this fail safe of if the card doesn't really hit and it just is plateaued, you just play the waiting game. Wait 5 years and that card you're going to make money off of it. It's like you have,
and even before this, it's like it seems to happen roughly every December.
Yeah.
And when we started, it was a big spike. Then the year after, it was like still a spike, but not like super aggressive. And then now it's now.
Yeah.
This is technically unprecedented. How long do you think this would last?
So we kind of were talking about on the Discord a little bit. As long as we don't get another stimulus check, I think things could start leveling out by fall next year, maybe midsummer.
That's a ways.
Yeah. And start coming down. But where's the bottom going to be? I mean,
yeah, I don't.
Is Underground Sea now a $1,200 card with this stimulus check? Is it going to get to 15? Is it going to jump that much? If it gets to 1,500, where's the bottom? I honestly think the duels 5 to 10 years from now, 5 years from now, I think they're all going to be over 1,000. 10 to 15 years from now, I think you're reaching 3,000 to 5,000. Like they're just not going to be there. As long as Magic keeps being played, as long as Commander keeps being driven, you're going to find new players. They're always going to want cards to their decks. The reserve list is the reserve list. It's always going to get bought up and go into collections. So there's less and less inventory every year that we go by.
Yeah.
And that's why I've invested in those for my boys with a couple of the cards. I have I have money for the boys as well, but that's what the dollar of the duels is. It's to invest for my boys. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to get every duel just by starting with $1. And then that's going for my boys' college.
Trying to move into it. And there's a lot of there is a lot of movement right now. And so that's part of it. Like we're still not at like a New York Stock Exchange level of trading within a day, because it's not instantaneous like that.
That's the hard part.
I got it. Let's go.
You got to move it. You can't just be like,
move it.
Hey, the price is this. We got to wait for that person to buy it at that. Yeah.
And you also need whatever you bought it at to get sent to you.
Right. You've had that.
And then, I wouldn't sell anything until it's in hand, because there are enough times where it's been
I had
canceled.
One little thing with that Heart of Yavimaya where I sold mine and then I bought more of them, like I was telling you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got part of the like 15 more that I ordered. I got like 3 of them in. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to throw these. I'm going to put it on 5 of them for whatever price. And I was like, by the time tomorrow comes, my next ones will be in. And then, you know, if they sell, that sold in 10 minutes, all of them gone. I was like, shit, I don't have the other 2. And I only had the one for my toolbox. So, but luckily the next day, the other ones all came in. And I was like, okay, woo. Because I don't normally do that. I normally wait until it's all in hand.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was going to sell within a day.
That quick.
Or hours, I should say. Well, let's do this really quick. So let's give some ideas to people that might, if they want to jump in on these. And I want to, I said this in our unsnipped part as well, but we're not trying to pimp our specs. But I want to start off by saying all of these that we're going to talk about, I have multiple copies. I don't know if Lowery has copies of his. These are specs. These are ones that I believe in, and that's why I went in on them. And I'm not trying to be like, hey, go buy these so mine go up. It's the ones I'm trying to give you that haven't gone up. Everything has gone up. These are the ones that haven't really jumped crazily. Some of these have jumped and come back down, and I feel like they'll come back up again. So I don't want, I know we've had people say that in the past, like when we've talked about reserve lists before, is like, you're trying to pimp your stuff to whatever. And I've heard other casts where there's other content creators, big ones, that will pimp their inventory just to get their shit sold. That's not what I'm doing here. Trying to give like an idea of, here's some that you might want to buy for your toolbox because they haven't gone up, or if you want to try to make some money off of it. These are some of the ones that we want to talk about. So do you want to talk about the 3 that you have? Or
I'll talk about
your
the 2
and then we'll get to your 3rd.
With the One Spec. And so these, like me personally, this is more like I was looking through it yesterday, and just kind of looking at where prices are now, and not necessarily that I have bought them at this price, but I do have a few of them because before they had potential.
Mm-hmm.
And so like probably 3rd out of the 3 right now, I would go with Second Chance. That card's
one that we spec'd on a long time ago.
Yep. Back when it was like $2-3.
I think it was sub dollar on that. And where is it at now?
It's 14. And so, but it's one of those cards where you're just kind of like, this is an extra turn for 3. You got to sacrifice it. Your life has to be below 5. And so it's kind of narrow, but it's infinite turns. It's infinite turns in Muldrotha. If you're below 5, you just every turn you recast it, and then during your next upkeep, you sacrifice it again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's it. It's already very playable in a very popular deck. And it's $14. The foil's like 200 something.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
And so I don't think you can apply any rules currently to non-foil versus foil on a reserve list, other than the foil. If you can get a foil reserve list card, no matter how you get it, it's probably going to go up.
Yeah.
It's gonna get crazy.
Yeah, I currently do have that one up for sale for I think like 15 or 20 or something like that.
The non-foil Second Chance. Yeah, I mean, for me, this is where I'm like, it's a good card. It's sub 20, and I can see this card doubling up to 30.
Yeah, because it's a
not
potential,
a huge investment.
Like you said, it can be used in commander decks. You know.
Yeah.
You can definitely see that. I don't want to be biased and be like it's all commander, but I mean a lot of that's where these are going to be bought up is commander. If they're used in other formats, they're already high, and that's the reason why they're already at that price.
Mm-hmm.
Commander is going to be driving these other reserve list stuff.
And so yeah, I mean this one, like I said, is 3 of 3.
I like
but
it.
I still like it versus like bad cards that are sub $10 and cards that Adam will talk about on what he's talking about, because I do agree with most of the ones that we unsnipped talked. And 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 like I've said, I'm pretty cheap, and so it's harder for me to
Yours is different though
throw
because
more money at it.
it's harder. It's harder. Your angle is more trades, so it's harder for
Yeah,
you
that's
to
also
like
true.
get the. Yours has to be what goes into what you trade away and what you get, and so it's a little bit more difficult for you to do it that way
Mhm.
instead of having
Yeah.
that money in your account.
Well, and it's also hard. It's something that I need to get better at, even though I don't think I need to get better at it. So I'm not going to get better at it. But it's hard for me to send out expensive cards on trades because I have my philosophy of trying to trade up,
Mm-hmm.
of sending out cards that are like $10 and under, and just trying to get cards that are $10 plus. And so when I'm sending out these reserve list cards that are over, they're hitting 10 plus, it's like, well, what am I going to get instead?
Right.
And so like we have had more conversations on like, I need to get into selling and actually just turning this into actual money.
Yes, you
And
do.
then like that's where I need that's where I need to just start thinking about it and going like, okay, I have nowhere else to go with these expensive cards, so I need to either create money out of it and buy the really expensive cards that are hard, or actually just turning that into the savings or other opportunities.
We just need to have a magic day where we see each other in person again.
And you'll talk me into it.
And I'll just help you list cards. I'll be like, all right, we're gonna list like 10 cards for you. Just get it up and running. Because once you do it and you get a template,
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
hardest thing, and it still hits me to this day with eBay, is getting that listing up. But when you have a template, it's just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, and then it's
Yeah.
easy. Then it's just taking that picture and boom. Or you just do TCG. We had talked about that. TCG might be more of your route because then you don't have to go into the description. You just list it on there and what
Yeah.
quality it's in.
So it's definitely one of those effects for me personally of like,
Yeah.
I haven't done it, and that's scary. and once I do it, it'll be better.
Yeah. I think
I'll get used to it.
I think you can do it. I believe in you, Larry. What's your
thank you.
other reserve list one?
The other reserve list card, I would go with Rainbow Veil from Fallen Empires, which I have bashed multiple times. But this card is sitting at about
Such a fun
$17 currently. It was $10 before these spikes, so it hasn't gone up a whole ton. And this was a
If you don't know what Rainbow Veil does, is you get the land that gives you any color, but then everybody's turn they get control of it. So you just
if you use it for mana, you get to give it to a player.
Is it only if you use it?
Yep.
If you use it, you lose it. Oh, so if you
Yeah.
don't use it, it just stays with you?
It can stay with you. But the big thing is like you're using this in the Azedru, the Great Herder deck, or the new Blimey, where you're giving it, like, you don't have to just like have that trigger. It just goes to that person.
That's crazy. I always thought that it just passed to.
It's just passed around.
Really? Rainbow Veil. Tap to add 1 mana of any color. An opponent gains control of Rainbow Veil at the beginning of next sense. I think it just gains control of it, doesn't it?
I think it's part of the activation of tapping it for mana.
Okay, now you're having me look at that here.
So either way, what you're doing is you're putting it in a deck, and there are 2 to 3 of them that are donation decks, and this card should be in there. And it goes in with the friendly type that the casual commanders, where you're able to kind of pass it around and help out anyway.
You're right. No, it's totally. I looked at Gatherer. So it says only changes controller at the end of turn in which it was tapped for mana. It does not change controller if it was not tapped for mana.
I think we passed it around when we were younger.
Yep, I think that's how we
It
always
was just
did.
like, you didn't use it, give it to somebody else.
That's crazy.
So the
you technically could use this as if you're using tap abilities like during other people's turns.
Yep.
Wait until it's the person that's right before your turn, and then use Rainbow Veil so that no one gets a hold of it if you want. Gives you any color mono, which is pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. And so it's sitting at $17. This is definitely, it's a land, so I can see it going up to doubling, roughly 40. And so again, it's usable. It's in that second tier of old, much like Second Chance is more in like that third tier for me of old.
It's a new phrase. This is in the first year of old.
This
is the second year of old.
Yep.
Second tier of old.
And
what are we, Lowery? What are we? What tier of old are we?
We're old millennials, right?
We're on that border. Remember, we're in that made up millennial between.
Yeah. I think I'm an old millennial and you're something else.
I'm like a mutt. I'm with Jesse.
Yeah.
Jesse and I are in the same.
No,
boat.
Jesse's like roughly a Gen Xer.
But
or is there
Jesse's the one
something
that
in
pointed.
between?
He posted something where it was like a 3 or 4 year, just garbage,
Nothing.
Whatever, that 83 or 79 to 83 or something like that is this weird. I don't know. Cool story, bro.
Yeah,
I do
feel
have
bad
that.
for yourself.
Story, bro.
You don't have some made up generational name that you can attribute whatever to.
I want to be a millennial. But yeah, I like Rainbow Veil a lot. Like, I think that's a solid spec. I want to see. So it didn't pop with everything else?
Yeah, it's gone up like $7, but this is definitely a used card.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
where
dude, no, it didn't really spike at all. I mean, it is kind of on a spike right now. Or were you finding it at for price wise?
17
Okay.
on MTG stocks.
Yeah. So you're looking at like last month it was like 14 or 15. So it's only gone up 3.
Yeah.
And then you move back to December and it was at 10. So it's not.
Yeah. You're not on one of those crazy spikes for a $10 card right now.
Yeah.
Because those $10 cards, a lot of those have gone up to 20, 30, 40. They're in that range right now. And so that's where I think there is that potential as well. Do you have any you want to talk about before we get to One Spec?
Yeah, let me just burn. Mine are gonna go quicker because I'm not gonna go detail with these. These are just more of because how I was talking about those tiers of under $1, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40. So, like I said before, all of these except for one, I have multiples. Some of these I even bought today because I didn't have them, and I was like, "Fuck, I need to get this because it's gonna go." I know what you're talking about. So the first one where I'll say there is nothing under $1. So I'm doing the $1 to $5 range that could potentially get to 15 to 20 plus. Reflect Damage is my first one. It was pre-January. It was around $2. You can find this for $3 at the moment on TCG. There's 37 copies of that. What it does, it's an instant white, red, 3 colorless, redirect all damage dealt by any one source to that source's controller. So this can fucking turn games where somebody dropping plates, the Trombley against Tyson moment, redeflect back to their face. I know this wasn't the card that was used, but it's something like that.
It was not.
So this is definitely a card that can be used in Commander. You see somebody all out swinging with Crater of a Behemoth, and they're just like, all right, well, that one that's like a 2020 or whatever, that's going back to your face. Or somebody does.
And if they die, you don't take that damage.
That's a good point. Yeah.
They will die before combat damage happens.
$3 for this. It did get up to 5, or it is kind of on a plateau right now of 5-ish, but you can find it for 3. It shows on the sites that it's at 5, but I was picking them up at 3. So then, go ahead.
Well, I do like that card because I like that effect, and I think it's a popular effect. It's like Deflecting Palm, Boros Fury Shield. There's a couple more like that. And so I think that might be where its current problem is it's the most expensive version that of cards like it, but people use
Consistency.
those cards.
Yeah.
And so with it being reserved list, it's one of those cards that I agree that just probably hasn't popped. Where do you think that one would go for $3?
That's
do you
where
think that's
I
that
put
10 to 15 range?
I said 15 to 20 probably is where this one will get to.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's going to get to on this spike, but I can see this one. I bought these for 3. I'll probably be trying to turn them at 15
Okay.
as soon as I get
Yeah,
them here.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And one side note, for people that do sell on eBay or TCG, if you buy a bunch of them, don't put them all on there. Go, here's my
Don't
30
flood the
copies.
market and fuck yourself.
Well, part of it is put some of them on, like you might not be the lowest at this point where we're about probably going to be seeing an incline. Put them on where you want the price to be. Like, of course, they're not going to put it on for 50, but I might put it on for 15 and I might be like the 10th or 15th lowest. But when those go for that price, then it triggers to me. I put 2 on there and I'm like, oh, okay. So the price is spiking right now. Do I need to adjust my prices? You sold the 2 at the price that you wanted. Maybe at that point you put the others on. That's another just the tips thing.
Just the tips inside the tips. Are we docking now or what?
No, it's like what is it? Fuck, Inception. We're on another level.
Tip inside the tip.
Oh, I just found our opener. Tip inside
fifth
the tip.
level tipping inside tips.
How
big is that urethra? The first one is huge, right?
Fuck, you just keep bringing up. All right, that one's gonna be it. Good job, Larry. All right. So the next level between $5 and $10. These I typically was saying between 20 and 30. Urborg Justice. I'm still fucking baffled that this card hasn't gone nuts. But what that one is the 2 black instant. Target opponent chooses and buries a number of creatures he or she controls equal to the number of creatures put in the graveyard from play so far this turn. Not just your what got killed, any creatures that went into the graveyard. And it's actually not berries, they sacrifice is what the errata text is to that. This one you can pick up currently for $9. It hasn't spiked.
So good. It's a really good card. Yeah. Especially when you're having like a Yawgmoth deck. Like this just wipes the board. I mean, it is one player that you're affecting.
But normally you're using this on the player that maybe wiped the rest of the board or did something.
Yeah. In the card, it's 2 mana, it's 2 black, and you're going to be killing more than 2 creatures.
Yeah.
2 black mana killing at least 2 creatures is really, really good. Again, and I know we've talked about it, but like if somebody attacks into the board and you just block everything that you can, you have your whole board die, then you go swamp, you sacrifice 6 creatures. You just like throw it back in their face. Right. That's a really big, good play.
Like, and it gets around the indestructible, gets around the hexproof and shroud because you're not targeting their creatures and their choosing it. Like there's, it's and I'm surprised it's been at this price since about November. It was a little bit cheaper before November. It was around $5, but dude, this is I have it as a $30 to $40 card. Like, cause this is a very good card. Next on the list is getting above that $10 range. So we're between that 10 to 15 ish, but Liege of Hollows. The reason why this one's unique is it deals with squirrels and people love those squirrels, but it's 2 green, 2 colors. I didn't know it existed until a month and a half ago, but it's when it dies is put into any graveyard from play. Each player may pay any amount of mana and put that many squirrels into play. It's a 3/4 for 2 green and 2 colorless for a spirit. Currently it is at $11. There are 60 listings. This one again, I think is about a $30 to $40 range. Because people like those squirrels. Something unique like this.
They do.
That if you have any kind of sack outlet and being able to do it when it's about to be your turn and you leave that mana open, pop, you got all those squirrels. Getting a nut. All right. One that we get over that 15 to 20. This one, Lowery and I've had discussions about. I've like thrown. This is like Lowery talked about. Is a card where I was like, this one hasn't really spiked, and I don't know if I really like it, but I feel like this one's gonna get there. But it's cleansing.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
3 white sorcery, and it's all lands are destroyed. That first off, I'm not going to play that. But players may prevent cleansing from destroying specific lands by paying 1 life for each land they wish to protect. So you can pay a life. It's not mana, you pay a life. Late game, this could do a lot of damage, or people just don't have the mana and they sacrifice it. But this one really hasn't gone up that much. It's 17 right now, only 21 listings. So this one, out of the whole list, has the least amount of listings for. And when I say 21 listings, it's with light play and near mint. I don't typically go below light play on TCG.
Okay.
And this one, I have a $40 to $50 range. I think this one could double or more.
And I think, and again, I think this is one of those that is like fair mass land destruction, but it's also a little bit like white burn.
Yeah.
You know, because I wouldn't look at it as land destruction unless you're really near the end of the game and that person's going to just lose. But if you're able to just look at it like, okay, I can play this any point in the game, late game, mid to late game, and people are going to take 8 damage for 3 mana, everybody. And that green player, they're going to take 12. So if you look at it a little bit more like that, that's not a bad rate for 3 white.
And this is From the Dark.
Yeah.
Which is what we're talking about there.
That's in the oldest tier as well.
This tier. All right. Getting into the other tiers. So now we're gonna get above 20. And so I have in this at $21 coming in with Paradigm Shift. This one's interesting because it hasn't moved since August, July. Okay, July jumped up. It's been $20. It had a jump to 35 at one point, but has come back down. And I was picking up for 21. This one does have the most listings at 96 currently. But again, this fits in. What it is it's 1 blue, 1 colorless. Remove all cards from your library from the game. Shuffle your graveyard into your library. So this fits into those like laboratory maniac. There we go.
Yep. It's Lab Maniac.
Yeah. But I was like, wait, is that right? It doesn't sound right.
Jace Weller of Secrets and
so it kind of fits in that you do have a legacy deck that uses it. But Commander, I don't probably see this being used a ton, and I don't see a lot of decks using it. But it's just weird because it would fit in those decks, and this one's just been sitting at 20. This one's at that $35 to $45 range is what I was thinking. And then last two. I have that. Where is it? Oh no, I got rid of it. I have the kid can't even read. Wrong. Oh no, I have it.
2? Well, I can't figure out just 2.
I moved them around. That's why.
Worth the wait.
Yep. This one I'm pretty high on. This is on one of my lines for dollar to duels, but Power Leech. So this is getting to your $25 to $30 range. Power Leech.
Is that the green one?
2 green.
Okay.
Enchantment. Gain a life whenever whenever an opponent taps an artifact, or whenever an activation cost is used for. God, the text on that's from Antiquities.
Awesome. Oh, that's a set as well. That's in the old tier.
Antiquities.
Forgot all about that.
Whenever an artifact an opponent controls becomes tapped, or an opponent activates an artifact ability without tap in the activation cost, gain a life. So that's a pretty sweet gain life for green. And like
that's
I said,
an uncommon, I believe, as well. I have one of them.
Yep,
so.
You're right. Uncommon. Yep. So I picked up some of those on this last batch because
a lot of people play artifacts as well in Commander.
and it's been at $25, dude, since the same thing as the other one. It hasn't jumped since August. And it's been at 25 cents. So this one hasn't seen that huge spike with it. So this one I think is reaching that $50 to $75 range. Especially from, if you guys listen way back in the day when Lowery said antiquities. Remember, I have that soundbite still. That's the only reason why I remember it.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right. So the last one, this is the last one before we get to One Specs. And this one I did not go in on. This is the only one that I don't have like multiples of. I just have my copy, but it's Lotus Veil. And this is over that $40 range. In fact, you can pick them up for 40, 37 copies out there. I think this one will get up to 75 plus, but it's when it comes into play, sacrifice 2 untapped lands or bury it. You can tap it to add 3 of any one color to your mana pool. We have that with what is
Lotus Field?
Field, yeah. Where it gives it hexproof. Is that what it is?
It has hexproof, comes into play tapped.
Yeah. This one,
the lands don't have to be tapped.
I think so.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but this one doesn't come into play taps, which is pretty nice. But
yeah,
I know you don't like this one as much playability. It's a good card, but sacrificing your own lands, and that's the only time I put this in a deck is if I have.
Well, I think with that one you need your lands untapped.
Yeah,
and that's the part that's kind of brutal, but that allows it to come into play,
and you can use it right away.
Yeah, and so if you're in a group that runs like spot land removal, it's just brutal.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that I would play.
Like we talked about with my Magda deck.
Yes.
Would not be very nice. All right.
In the common tongue, it says
we are there.
Spec.
To rule them all.
You remember when I said I wanted this to be an hour? One Spec.
To bring them all.
Yeah, it's not anymore, is it? We rambled for like an hour. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Remember when we were talking beforehand and you were like, I wasn't sure if we were going to have enough to talk about.
We didn't even talk about everything I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about inflation. I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, there was some more that we mentioned when we were.
I wanted to talk about like ports being backed up for a month. Wood prices increasing by like 6 times.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm glad I built my house when I built my house because it
shit,
sucked at this point.
Yeah.
All right. So if you guys don't know One Spec, we are just picking one of these reserve lists. Have we done reserve lists One Spec yet?
Never.
Yeah, I don't think we've done.
We've never talked about the reserve list and what cards you should be buying. That's why I feel like this is going to be a good episode for sure.
All right, so we're going to pick One Spec from reserve list that out of all these that we talked about, all of them are good picks, but these are the ones that if you're just like, all right, I want to make some money and whatever, this might be really quick money here. These are the ones that we think you should go in on. Lowery, why don't you start us off? Because I really dig I actually bought this one on this last spike because I didn't have it.
For Toolbox. I'm going to go with Undiscovered Paradise. This is a land. It's about $40 right now. But it's a land. It taps for any mana color. And when you tap it at the end of the turn or at the beginning of the next turn, you need to return it back to your hand. And so that really works well with a landfall theme or where you're playing multiple lands per turn. And this is a card that was $30 back during Battle for Zendikar. Didn't move a whole ton, and it's really only gone up, like 10-ish. So not a whole ton. It hasn't really seen a huge spike. And it's been $20 forever.
Yeah. At one point it was 55 back in looks like August. It hit 55 and has come back down. You're saying 40 is what you're seeing?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you seeing in it?
I'm just I didn't go to TCG. I was just looking at Goldfish's. I like to look at theirs for the graph sometimes, and they have it listed at 35 they're probably talking about near mint.
Stocks MTG stocks had it at 39. So I mean they're roughly in there. So if you can get it for 30, 35, I see that this is one of those cards that's hits that $75 mark easy.
Dude,
Like
no. Light play, TCG, $25.
yeah. That seems very doable. What's the
Near mint is 30. That's where you're getting your 40, 39. So you
how many are listed?
44 total listings between light play and near mint.
Well, let's go get a meet for us. Let's drive that price up right away and make me look like a
is
genius.
Solid. See,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
the
that
thing. That's the
seems
hard
right.
part about TCG is like, that's why I only do light play or near mint, because a lot of times light play comes in and it's actually like near mint. Like it barely has. I did have one this
but
week.
if it's played or moderately played, it's like
Well, I
garbage.
had one that came in this week, and the dude had it listed for light play, and like it was one of the pearl medallions.
Oh, yeah.
And like the corner was white and the back and had rub marks all around. I was like, this is not light play. I mean, I could understand if it had the wears on maybe the edges on two, but not every single edge and the corners completely rubbed away.
Yeah.
So he like gave me like 10% off. I was like, whatever. I'm not sending it back. But yeah, no, undiscovered paradise picking up the light plays for $25, $26. Like you said,
that seems like a really good play. Because again, I think this is a $75, $80 card.
Oh, for sure.
At this point, what the market is doing. And then if you're looking to flip it, you flip it then.
That's what I was holding mine for.
It's going real crazy.
Yeah. I dig it. All right, my one.
Oh, because there's Oboro from the Kamigawa block. I think it's Saviors, but that you pay one, bring it back to your hand, and you can do it a bit more at that point. But that's a $40 card, and that foil is like it just went up to like 200.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody fucking has that, but so like that's what you're basing it off of, and like in comparison it should be, because it's reserve list, you just have a little bit more potential.
That's interesting, because it says during your next untap step, as you untap permanents, return it.
Okay, so it was during the next turn, at the beginning of the next turn.
Dig it.
So
all right, my one spec is actually one that I just picked up today because I was trying to go through, and the funny thing is I was going through to fill out one of my dollar to duel lines, and I had $10 to spend, and I was trying to figure out a good one. I was going through all the lists. I came across Phyrexian Negator, and what this is 1 black, 2 colorless for a 5/5 trample. Kind of a bad, like, but you can do some things with this, but whenever it is dealt damage, you have to sacrifice that many permanents. So there's probably some things you can do with this where you give it to somebody, or for 3 mana for a 5/5.
That's where, like in a Blimey deck.
And that's the main commander one is Blimey.
Is that it is?
Blim?
Yeah.
Blim?
Blimey. I like to think that he's Irish. St. Patty's Day coming up this week, probably when it's released. Blimey.
But this dude, okay, so I'm focused on this was on Snip that we talked about this, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Okay. So this is kind of a weird thing because it got a reprint in the dual decks Phyrexia versus Coalition, the Coalition. And this is a foil. And you're able to, there's only 17 copies left on TCG, but they're going for about $8 right now. So its counterparts, the non-foils, just regular packs, they're $21. The foils, the regular pack ones, $300, and the judge foils, $150. Yeah, this one during this last spike did hit $25 and has come back down. So, and inventory 17 copies. Like I said, there isn't much there. So I think this one's gonna easily get to that 20 plus range.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to look to move mine at 30 plus is what I'm guessing. Cause I think it's the only one that has this art. I don't know if I necessarily like it better. I think I like the other ones better. But
Yeah.
this one has a unique, different art to it. And it's a foil from
And it's foil. Yeah.
yeah. So
I liked it a lot more when it was like 50 cents.
well, you got to
Because that's when I picked up my 2 regulars and 2 foils for 50 cents a piece.
nice.
And so I'm keeping one of the foils and trying to move the other 3. And just like, I'm not really trying, but it's on card.
Good
It's
for
on
you.
Card Sphere. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a genius because I bought shitty cards for cheap. That was
Excuse me. I bought shitty cards for not so cheap at $8.
well, I mean, Blimmy being printed makes it a lot better card as well. So, but the card has nostalgia as well. But I agree. I see the card getting up to, at least the pack.
At least that $300 range, right?
No, at least $20. It's at least a double or triple up.
Yeah. No. I think there's some money to be made here pretty soon. All right. Is that all we got? I mean,
is that all we got? And we're probably at 2 hours now.
We are almost at 2 hours.
Jesus.
All right. Well, that should do it for this week. We will catch you guys next week.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.
Take up.
I love boobs. I'm talking tatas. I love boobs. I'm
Honkers for honkers.
I love boobs.
I'm sure you hear this song a lot.
I love boobs.
Do you play this one for your wife?
All the time. I think we sing it around the house all the time.
She walks in the room, you're like, button.
I love boobs.